What it do, baby? We are back. Two Michigan men sitting before you talking about a sport that is so deep into the offseason. We are coming up with games on what to talk about. This is 4th and 1 podcast brought to you guys by you guys, the fans. So make sure you smash that subscribe, like button, and go ahead and give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook, 4th and 1 podcast. And go ahead and follow us on TikTok as well if you have that 4th and 1 pod. Yes. AKA, we know you're not going to be a part of this podcast. That's why we went ahead and start. I am your host, I am Captain Boring, sitting next to my brother from another mother, NotCFBIII. Robert, we are first week of March. We are deep into the offseason. Spring ball starts a couple weeks from now, end of this month, something like that.
Maybe.
For those programs having spring ball, a whole bunch of programs have canceled spring ball because of the whole transfer portal and NIL and no regulations specifically surrounding the transfer portal. They don't want any poachers coming. But we're going to start with this. Florida State and Clemson were suing the ACC. If you didn't know this, go listen to some previous episodes. Basically, Clemson and Florida State wanted out of the ACC because the ACC signed this deal about 8 years ago that runs for another 9 years with ESPN. It was a TV revenue deal where at the time it looked good. And then the SEC and the Big Ten came along and got billions and billions of dollars, 8 and 7 respectively, for much shorter deals, less than half the year length. So Clemson and Florida State wanted out. However, how the ACC is kind of written and has written their bylaws, if you exit, you leave behind all of your home game TV right media deal, and you leave behind all the money. So Florida State and Clemson would not have rights, TV rights to their home games. And of course, that is a big deficit there. So the ACC, Florida State, and Clemson, this is yesterday, have ended their ongoing litigation Tuesday after agreeing to a settlement that changes the league's revenue distribution model and significantly reduces exit penalties for members wanting to leave the conference before 2036. When the conference TV right is up. The commissioner, Jim Phillips, thanked all parties for their patience and dedication in getting a deal done. He says something that some BS that no one really cares about. And then, as a result of the settlement, the penalty to leave the conference has been significantly reduced. The grant of rights remain in place through 2036, but beginning next year, the exit fee will be $165 million. Then the fee declines by $18 million per year, leveling at $75 million in 2030 and 2031. Any team that pays the exit fee will leave with its media rights intact. So basically, the ACC just wrote its own death certificate for 5 years from now. Unless if they can get Notre Dame to join the conference, which isn't going to happen as long as NBC is paying their price tag. Currently, any school that wants to leave before June 2036 must pay 3 times the operating budget, a figure that would amount to about $120 million. Plus control of that team's media rights through the conclusion of the grant of rights. The timing of the exit penalty reduction is significant. Television deals for the Big Ten, as I was talking about, 2030, and the Big Ten, which is 2029 and 2030, Big 12, which is 2030, and the next iteration of the college football playoff, 2031, come up for renewal just as the fee dips to $75 million. Robert, when I wrote this, as I said, I don't see how this isn't the ACC basically, as a conference, signing its own death certificate. it's a way for Clemson and Florida State to get out. Your thoughts initially about this?
Well, I mean, you can look at it as saying that it's a like their death certificate, but you can also look at it and be like, you're kind of calling everyone's bluff. If you want to leave, you got to pay some cash. It's not it's not the $700 million that it was before, but it's still a significant amount. And you're also looking at, Florida State and Clemson did this when they were big dogs.
Right.
They were a wanted team. The Mountain West doesn't even want Florida State right now. Okay. Clemson at least kind of stayed competitive. Florida State, I mean, you could spit in your hand, clap, and you'd have a better result than Florida State's season. Okay. So if it comes down to, whatever, and Florida State still is not getting the ball rolling, no one's going to want that. They'll be like, oh yeah, it's good for a good name, but you're not getting anything really out of it. And the way all the other conferences are kind of shaping up, the ACC and the Big 12 are kind of going to have to feed off of each other. So, I mean, it could be a death warrant, but I feel like it's kind of not, because they're still going to be competitive and still bring in a decent amount of money. Notre Dame's Notre Dame.
Right.
Like, if I'm a conference, I almost don't want Notre Dame to come in, because Notre Dame essentially kills themselves almost every year by not being in the conference. They do great money-wise, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to the end of the year and they start playing teams that actually matter, it's not Army, it's not Navy, it's not Marshall or, a down USC team. It's, they kind of struggle, This year was obviously different because they kind of figured out how to be a complete team, but, they're not going to be able to do that in a conference, because now, like, they have to play by conference rules.
Both Clemson and Florida State could just man up and just pull an SMU and just raise the money in a weekend, but I guess they don't got rich Dallas oil people. So this contract exit fee, right, is twofold. The first part we just went into, right, with the exit. Yeah, and by the way, Robert, if you caught what Robert said, he said it's not $700 million like it is right now. That is correct. The fee right now to exit has been dropped to $165. That will then decline by whatever $15 million per year until it levels off. The exit fee right now is $700 million. It is very expensive to leave the ACC. The ACC had this thing knotted up in a bow, and now, as Robert, you said, are calling the bluff. However, the ACC is recognizing that some of its players are more, I'm just going to say it, valuable than other players, okay? Clemson and Florida State, viewership-wise, when both are rolling, I understand Florida State, right, is just a dumpster fire rolling down a hill of shit right now, right? So, but when they're at the top of the game, they are on every Saturday night. They are in primetime game. They get the war chant going, oh, and it is annoying. When Jameis Winston was there and they were the number one team in the land, do you know how many Saturday nights I had to watch Florida State and that, oh, it was so annoying in 2013. So, what the ACC is doing to counteract that, the new distribution model or brand initiative, it's, again, just trying to dress up a terrible name, will be based on 5-year rolling average. 60% of the total ACC television revenue will go towards this initiative. More weight will be given to more recent viewership. A team's total viewership will then be divided by the total ACC viewership to equal its percentage of money available in this pool. The other 40% of the television revenue, which SMU currently is not getting any, will be distributed evenly among all league schools. So I really wonder how SMU is kind of working into this, because, again, they're getting none currently. $209 million just to get in. Florida State athletic director Michael Alford brought forward a similar proposal to reward teams that rate well on television to the ACC board last February, or 2 years ago in February 23, but no support was had at that time. Clemson began pushing for changes for this revenue distribution model after its 6th straight college football playoff appearance, believing teams should be rewarded for athletic success. Florida State pushes for change too, and in 2023, the ACC adopted its first ever revenue distribution changes with success initiatives, giving more teams money that do well in football and men's and women's basketball. Robert. So basically, they have come up with a tiered system, right? The better you do, the more you're going to be shown on TV, the more fans you're going to see, the more money you're going to get, right? Of the 100% TV revenue, it's basically divided 60% of that, and then some math that works out that I don't understand. Thoughts on the TV revenue or brand initiative?
I mean, that thing will fluctuate so much that it's not even funny. But also with the ACCs is they also worked in basketball with that. So
basketball ratings won't be included in the brand initiative, but at a much smaller rate than football, which is responsible for about 75% of the TV's league revenue.
So is that saying that football is 75% or basketball is 75%? Which one's 75%?
Football.
I mean, if we're being honest, ACC basketball is light years better than what ACC football generally is. But, I mean, those numbers, the TV revenue, that's going to fluctuate like every year. I mean, you look at the MLB and you have, they don't want to do it on ESPN anymore. It depends on where they're going to go. You know, it'll be okay until 2036. That's when their thing is up.
Well, 2030 until the grant of rights, but yes, 2036 their deal with ESPN.
You know, so I would assume they're probably going to leave ESPN because right now it's kind of being swamped with the SEC.
Do you want me to make a prediction?
I mean, you can say Amazon, but that's fine. They want to go on Amazon Prime.
I don't think the ACC will be a conference. Will be a conference, a big enough conference to generate a big TV contract from somewhere. I do think in 2030, the big players, specifically Clemson, because I think Clemson's going to continue to roll for the next 5 years, at least be in the college football playoff multiple times. They're going to bounce. I think North Carolina is going to bounce and drag Duke somewhere with them. And then I also think, surprisingly enough, SMU is going to have so much of that and be such a big player in that conference that in the state of Texas, they'll either go Big 12 or they'll join the SEC. I think that the ACC might become like the Big East, a basketball conference only.
I mean, also, well, it very well could be if you're being honest. But also, what you kind of could happen is if those teams do leave, I could see them swallowing the American.
Yeah.
And then you have like the American and what's left of the ACC, probably like Wake Forest and
right.
You know, like your
smaller, Virginia Techs, yeah.
Right. You know, and you could probably see, because at that point, you know, this is also almost 10 years into the future.
Right.
You know, the SEC is probably going to look different as well. You're probably going to actually have, I would imagine, like probably Vanderbilt might leave. Or be kind of forced out kind of thing. And you're going to see a lot of the smaller teams where maybe we only have 3 really big conferences where the Big 12 kind of fractures. Your Big 12 North goes to your Big 10, your Big 12 South stays with your SEC or whatever. And I mean, it could. It's just like it's a weird dynamic, you know?
I think it's very imperative right now for athletic directors to make their school very well-rounded, not just in football, in other sports, right? Because Duke, for example, not a big football school right now, but they run the ACC in basketball. Right. They get eyeballs in basketball for the ACC. They probably get the eyeballs, them in North Carolina, in basketball. Vanderbilt, right? Not good at football. Really good at baseball. Now, I'm not saying SEC baseball gets a whole lot of viewership, but it carries some good weight within the conference. If you want to make your case for remaining in the conference, you're going to have to become good at something other than football if you're not terrific at football right now. Because Vanderbilt can say, listen, we bring a lot of good stuff to baseball, right? Right? Duke and North Carolina said, hey, right now, like, we bring everything to basketball right now. Like, we are the ACC in basketball. I know North Carolina is having a down year current, or maybe that's Kansas, or maybe it's both of them. I'm not really sure. Right, but Duke specifically, like, and even if the ACC dissolves and Duke has somewhere to go, and the Big Ten, and they go to the Big Ten, and Big Ten's like, we don't want your football program. They can be like, yo, you got Dusty May, Michigan. You got Tom and Izzo with Sparty, right? You got UCLA. You got Coast. Come add a little bit south, North Carolina. Come add probably the best historically program in the country, and that would be Duke, right? One of the richest blue bloods in all the country. Come add Duke in basketball, and what we'll be mid-pack in football, sure, but we're going to add you so much more in basketball. You're going to make yourself much more profitable.
So you are more leaning along the sides of kind of almost every team essentially being independent, like the college itself is independent, not giving itself ownership to a conference, kind of like what Northern Illinois is doing.
Yeah,
what we're talking about. Like,
yeah,
okay, Duke goes to Big Ten for basketball, but for lacrosse, they stay in this whatever ACC it might be. But for football, they play somewhere else.
I think with some sports, yes, we will eventually get there, because I do think, unfortunately, as far if you follow the money, the big deals are Big 10, Big 12, and SEC. You know this. So eventually these schools and other conferences are either going to have to get very small, very big. Either way, eyeballs on your conference go down. So if you're Duke basketball, you're not going to want to play in the ACC that's not being watched because there's 30 teams in it, because they had to swallow the American to stay afloat. They had to swallow the Mountain West to stay afloat. So if you're Duke basketball, you're like, okay, well, sure, we'll play in, men's water polo. Sure, we'll play in this ACC because who cares? It doesn't bring eyeballs, but it gets us scholarships. But in basketball, we're going to go join the Big 10. We're going to go join the SEC, Big 12, whatever it may be. I think that's a real possibility. Absolutely. Okay. And now we're going to go to something a little more fun. As we roll into spring games more, we will kind of do this. I think we're going to probably go every other week with the podcast. As of right now, if something big happens, we might jump on, but as of right now, it's just kind of la-di-dum. I do want everyone to know I did end up watching the Michigan-Ohio State highlights. Again, 13-10, you might be national champions, but we've beaten you 4 years in a row, 2 at your place. So suck on that, losers. And then I did watch the Michigan-Alabama bowl game highlights, which it was the oddest bowl game I've ever watched. It was a turnover, and then it was a turnover, and then it downpoured, and then there were 2 more turnovers. Michigan, off of the 4 turnovers, only managed like 9 points or something like that, and they still beat Alabama. It was the greatest 8-5 season for a team that physically could not throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field. So I am so humbly grateful. Sharon Moore, though, big expectations. I do feel bad for Bryce Underwood. I was thinking this watching this last night, Rob. Bryce Underwood, if he starts, which it's looking like that, at least if you follow the reporters that have no idea what's going on, but if you follow them, he has to win 9 games. He has to win 9 games, and he probably has to beat Ohio State, or he is going to hear it from everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like a make or break year. It's unfortunately a make or break year for a freshman quarterback,
Yeah.
which is something that a team doesn't ever want is their true freshman quarterback to be, hey, just so you know, if you don't win 9 games and beat Ohio State, like you're the money's not worth it then.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really sad because I think everyone develops, right? He's 18, right? Emotionally, intellectually, physically, even he I know he's a beast right now. He's going to develop. But his fuse is going to be very short because of how he came to be. Paid a whole bunch of money or agreed to a whole bunch of money with LSU. Then Michigan came calling, and then he doubled down on his commitment to LSU, and then he flipped to Michigan last minute. So and brought a lot of recruits with him. So
that's what I wanted.
It's a lot. Anyway, let's. I hit it early, but let's get into it here. We're gonna play a little game this week. It is called The Best That Never Was. That is the greatest players to never win a Heisman. And in terms of greatest players, it is maybe the greatest seasons to never win a Heisman. I don't know if they're all-time great players or if they're just great season. I asked Robert to work up a list. He did. So how this game is going to work, he told me, and I love the authoritarian that he's taking charge with this game. You're going to give me player and team. So you're going to give me the player that had a great season that never won the Heisman. I have to tell him who he lost to. The bet is over under is what do you want to put it at? 5.5 or 6.5?
6.5. Since there's 11, I'll be nice. 5.5.
Okay, 5.5. So if I get 6, I'm beating the odds. But he doesn't think I'm going to do very well, which is fine. I'm not very well. As we go along, if we need to give stats or whatever to, if I don't really know it, we'll go from there. All right. So Robert, let's, I don't even know what. All right. That'll work. What's the first one?
All right. First one, we're going to go 2005.
Okay.
Vince Young.
Okay. So we're starting off easy. Vince Young lost to Reggie Bush. Right, a lot of people, which I didn't get on board until this year, thought Vince Young should have won the Heisman. Okay.
Let's see. Okay, 2015. Now, surprisingly enough, there was 2 of them that I kind of figured. 2015, Deshaun Watson.
Oh, this is a good one. Deshaun Watson in 2015. All right, let me think. So he was at Clemson. Who else was in there? Is that Derrick Henry?
Yes.
Let's go. Okay. And the only reason I know that is because I think you have the wrong player to not win a Heisman that year.
There's another one.
Christian McCaffrey.
Was also 2015.
Christian McCaffrey was also 2015. Yep. Christian McCaffrey broke Barry Sanders' all-purpose yardage record that year. And because he played at Stanford and he was on at 8 p.m. or 11 p.m. every night, no one saw him. He had the greatest, in my opinion, season that no one paid attention to.
That was the only one that I thought was like, yeah, he definitely got robbed. Okay. Because, I mean, he was essentially like the he just won it. Travis Hunter kind of like the all-around player, was kind of all over the place kind of thing.
So in 2016, he rushed for 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns. He had another 310 receiving and 3 touchdowns. He had 1,900. Oh, I'm sorry. This is 2015. So he rushed for 2,000 yards, 6,500 or 645 receiving, 5 touchdowns. He had 26 all-purpose yards. He came in second in the Heisman and was an All-American. He had that year 21 total touchdowns. So, and then he only followed it up with only a 2,000-yard scrimmage season the next year. So, poo on him.
Okay. So next, we're gonna go to. I need to make sure that I got this one right because it's technically. Make sure it's the right year. Yes. Okay. So this player lost the Heisman
Okay.
twice. 2010, Andrew Luck.
Do I have to name both?
So, well, no, it's 2010 now,
Okay.
and then tell me who he lost to on this one.
Mark Ingram.
Nope.
Oh, I was so.
It's a quarterback.
In 2010. Oh man. All right. So yeah, it's the 20. Who even won the championship in 2010? Colt McCoy?
No. He's a quarterback. He played on a team that hasn't won a national title since. They were close, and they played Florida State the second time, not the first time.
Cam Newton.
Yes.
I didn't realize Cam Newton was 2010. Wow, that was 15 years ago. Well, Cam Newton had one of the all-time greatest seasons.
Right. So
Okay.
it's a lot of these players you're going to look at it and go, these guys were great, but the people that they lost to, other than like the Christian McCaffrey one, you're going to okay, I could see how they lost.
Okay. All right.
So Andrew Luck again, 2011.
He was the Heisman runner-up 2 straight years.
And he lost to 2 really good season quarterbacks.
All right. So who won? So Auburn won in 2010. The year after Auburn. So and it's a quarterback. It's a quarterback in 2011 too.
Yes.
Okay, because I was going to say Mark Ingram again. I think he's
they
23rd.
finished even. I don't think they finished in the top 15.
Oh my good, you got me with the. All right. All right, so this is 2. This is the second one I've gotten wrong.
Are you giving up already?
Well, I'm thinking what.
Okay.
Not even in the top. USC didn't have one that late. Texas didn't have one that late. 2000. Tim Tebow?
No. Oh, it's not even letting me go that far. Where did they finish?
Tim. Oh my goodness. In 20. Okay, so Andrew Luck in 2011.
I was wrong. They finished 13th.
Okay, what conference did they play in?
Would be Big 12. You're going to be kind of upset with yourself.
It's not Colt McCoy never won a Heisman, right?
No.
Robert Griffin III.
Yep.
I got it wrong, but Robert Griffin III. Oh my god, it's so funny who you forget. Yes, Yes, they finished 13th, but he had that great close.
That's what I mean. Like, it wasn't that he had a great career, but that season he had a great season.
He was awesome.
Yep.
He was outstanding. Okay. All right. Great.
Let's go. 1997. Randy Moss.
Oh, that's this one was an easy one. That would be Charles Woodson. He
Yeah.
lost to Charles Woodson. The other option there is Peyton Manning,
which
right?
I had on this list. So.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Real quick, Baylor for RG3 in 2011, 4,200 passing yards, 37 touchdowns. Rushing wise that year, he added another 700 on the ground and another 10 touchdowns, and he had one catch for 15 yards. So he had 700. He had almost 5,000 total yards and over 45 touchdowns. What a great year by Robert Griffin III. Okay.
So all right. This one should be an easy one. 2009, Ndamukong Suh.
Should be an easy one, you say?
Yes.
This is Tim Tebow? Is this Tim Tebow?
2009.
I get mixed up when Tim Tebow, he played much. I want to say Mark Ingram, but I've already said his name 3 times. It can't be Mark Ingram again. I think Mark Ingram was like 2012. 2009. Who was ruining the day for so when Bush, Leinart, not Colt McCoy, he never won one. We already covered that. Well, clearly it's harder than what you thought.
I mean,
and clearly it shouldn't be. Is it a quarterback?
No.
Oh.
The ironic part is I'll give you another player that was a finalist.
Okay.
Toby Gerhart.
Adrian Peterson never won the Heisman. What the heck? Okay. Running backs to win the Heisman. Mark Ingram, it's not him. It's too early. Right?
You tell me, dog.
All right. It can't be Mark Ingram. If it's Mark Ingram, you know what? I'll just take the L with that. Can't be Mark Ingram. Adrian Peterson never won the Heisman. No Big Ten running back won the Heisman in 2009. I'm decently sure. No, I got to go with Mark Ingram.
It's Mark Ingram.
Okay, all right.
I'm like, you said this guy's name so many times, and the other one you kept saying was Colt McCoy, who was in 2009.
Oh, okay. I get so confused. When you have this much history in your brain, you forget what years they are. Yeah. But yeah. Who was Mark Ingram the last running back to win it? Oh no, Derrick Henry, 2015.
Yeah,
we've been over that.
Henry, I think would have been the last one.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Now these ones should be pretty. These ones are really going to test you.
Okay.
Not that the other ones haven't before, but
okay.
Let's go. 1999.
Oh my gosh. Right. Okay.
Michael Vick.
So, I don't even. Wait. Is it that? Is it Josh? No, it's not Josh Heupel because he was early 2000s. Yeah. Chris Winkie?
No.
What year was he? He's got to be right around there. Maybe he was.
I think he might have been 2000.
Yeah, what conference is this one at?
Big Ten. Probably one of the most. When you think of old Big Ten running backs that just set the stage for a specific team, that we've talked about before. Not
Mm-hmm.
about this player, but about this team and their history of very good running backs.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say it's running back from Wisconsin. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I know his name even. I don't know that I know his name.
I mean, I feel like you should.
Okay. Well, I don't know it. So what is it? I'm giving up.
Ron Dane.
I don't know.
No. Oh, okay.
Nope. Sorry. So no, you got me. You got me.
I'm gonna feel really dumb if you didn't play for
Wisconsin. Everyone in the chat.
No, he did. He did.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would have felt real bad, but yeah, he did.
Wow, they have a long history of running backs. Good for them.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. I'm like, you look at, Ron Dane, Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor. Like, they've always had some sort of good running back. You let me know when you're ready for the next one.
I'm looking up one thing. All right, go ahead.
All right, 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Peterson.
Matt Leinart.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. That was a great one.
So I'll leave. Let's do 1995.
Dude.
Tommy Frazier. Who did he lose to?
You're asking me. This is before. I mean, I was 1 year old. Tommy Frazier.
Yep.
Nebraska. That's Nebraska's quarterback. Yeah, I'm gonna need some help for this one.
Big Ten.
Okay.
Running back.
Eddie George.
Yep.
Let's
go.
go. All right.
Last one. So we have another person who lost it 2 times in a row.
Okay.
2006. Darren McFadden.
So Bush won it in 05, right? We already established that. I'm going to say Tim Tebow was 06.
No.
I think I'm a little early with Tim Tebow. I think Tim Tebow was 07. Okay, well, anyway, Jamarcus Russell never won a Heisman, right? He was just a number one pick.
Really good,
yeah.
Big Ten.
Okay.
Quarterback.
Troy Smith.
Troy.
As soon as you said Big Ten, I was like, oh yeah, Troy Smith won it.
2007.
This has got to be Tim Tebow. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's all. You got more right than I thought you were going to.
Okay. So I felt like I got a lot wrong. All right. So I got one for you, and then we will end it. 2019.
Yep.
Okay. The runner-up is Jalen Hurts. This is a fun game.
Yeah. So Jalen Hurts was the runner-up at 2019, which means Hurts was still... He would have been at Oklahoma at that point, wouldn't he have been? Yeah. Wouldn't have been Lamar. Lamar would be in the NFL at that point, which means we go later than that.
A hint, Jalen lost to the winner in the semifinal.
Oh, now I got to think about who Oklahoma even played in the semis. Good Lord.
Oklahoma has a long run of losing in the semis.
They do. So it wouldn't have been Bama,
You are correct. It's not.
which makes me believe it was Georgia, which makes me believe that he would have lost to Devonta Smith at that point. No?
Well, Devontae Smith played for Alabama.
Right. Oh, never mind. I'm thinking Georgia.
Yeah.
Did they play Georgia?
No, they did not play
No.
Georgia.
Okay, so it wasn't Georgia and it wasn't Alabama.
Same conference.
Same conference as the.
Not as well. I mean, technically now same conference as Oklahoma.
Right, but so it's an SEC school.
Yeah.
Auburn didn't make it back at that point. Or they did?
No, you're right. Right. Yeah.
So that would make me believe that it was Florida. No.
You're missing a team.
Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Florida. Not Tennessee.
Yeah, you're right. It's not Tennessee. You're gonna really kick yourself when you hear it.
I know I am. It's not Ole Miss. Wasn't Mississippi State.
No.
It wasn't Vandy. Man, what SEC? Not South Carolina.
It is. I think it is regarded as one of the best. It's a quarterback. It's one of the best seasons a quarterback has ever had. It set a record for most passing touchdowns.
It's LSU, so it was Joe Burrow.
It's Joe Burrow. What team? I have the top 10 right here, and then we will end the show. What team had not one, not two, not three? I'm sorry, just three. I can't read correctly. Had three players inside the top 10 and never. Oh, no, that is the year, but lost in the semifinal to Clemson. So three players in the top 10, one being defensive. They had a quarterback, a defensive end, and a running back in the top 10 of the Heisman voting.
Okay, I was like in the top 10 of what?
I'm sorry, in the top 10 of the Heisman voting.
Okay.
Did not make the national championship game.
Did not make the national championship game. Because of Clemson?
Because of Clemson beat them in the semifinal.
Oh, jeez. So I'm trying to think about Alabama because I know they ran into Clemson a decent amount.
Tua Fit was number 10 that year. 2,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Clemson also had Trevor Lawrence at 7 and Travis Etienne at 9. Chuba Hubbard was 8.
Ohio State ran into them a decent number of times, too. That's what I'm going with, Ohio State.
You would be right. So it went Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Field was 3, Chase Young, 4, and then J.K. Dobbins, 6. And I believe that was Ryan Day's first season at Ohio State.
Yeah, because I think that, is that when Ohio State came out and was like, everyone I think was expecting Clemson to walk all over them, and Ohio State came out, punched him in the mouth, and it kind of went good for a while. And then did Fields hurt his back?
No, so this was the game where you're right. Everyone expected Clemson, and then Ohio State came out, punched him in the mouth, 13-0. Big sack on everything's going in the favor. Big sack on Trevor Lawrence. Called back for targeting.
Okay.
And also same game.
The interception fumble or the fumble that they ruled wasn't scoop score, but then they turned
scoop and score that they went to replay and overturned, and you're looking at it and you're just like, even live, that's a fumble. And it was a fumble. And yes, it was. And then Justin Field kind of throw into the end zone. Chris Olave runs the wrong route.
Yeah.
He expected him to keep coming over, and he kind of peeled off this way, and he throws it right to the defender. So that was fun. We're going to have to continue this with knowledge-based questions. But for now, as the soundbite said, see ya. This has been another rendition of the 4th & 1 podcast. Wash your hands, you filthy animals. We will see you sometime soon.